It's okay to be scared, honey, but it's not okay to hide. The Wrong Paris is a Netflix original from writer director Janine Damian, who's worked on previous Netflix originals like Irish Wish and Falling for Christmas. And this stars Miranda Cosgrove as Dawn, who's a hard-working, small-town country girl that is living with her siblings, taking care of her grandmother, played by Frances Fisher of all people. Yes, the one that was recently in The King Tide, as well as films like Titanic, and is a very prolific actress. I wonder what the fuck she's doing in this particular film. Nevertheless, no, let's not tip my hands too early as to how I felt about this. Let's not tip them further and further and further and tip them upwards and upwards so I can just do this as I wonder why. Just why do I keep doing this to myself? Like, honestly, why? Why do I keep fucking doing this to myself? Why do I think that these Netflix rom-coms, they're basically the same as Hallmark, just with a bigger budget and maybe a few more ethnicities? And I'll talk about those ethnicities and those particular diversities in this film, in this review of this film. So Miranda Cosgrove has certainly had an interesting career, I'll say that much. She is saving up for art school in Paris, but she needs more money. She gets accepted, but she needs more money. And she's helped out her grandma, but now she has an opportunity to get that money. She has to go on a show that's not called The Bachelor. How dare you say that? It's not The fucking Bachelor. Shut up. It's called The Honey Pot. Which just sounds positively perverted, and yes, I know those dating shows basically are perverted, but come on, the honey pot, dipping right into the honey pot, getting the hand right in the honey pot, like Uma Thurman in Batman and Robin. I'm just going to think about that for a second, because Uma Thurman's dialogue in Batman and Robin was somehow not as bad as the dialogue in this. Look, this movie's inoffensive at the end of the day, and I'll talk about the rest of the cast here in a second, but it is just so banal. So generic. Flavorless oatmeal. Gum that loses its flavor after a goddamn minute. It's like that Simpsons clip with Bart. Choose a gum, flavor's gone. Choose a gum, flavor's gone. That's just how these Netflix rom-coms are now. I mean, it's not, again, inoffensive, and people seem to be having fun with it, but just the fact that this is what filmmaking has become. Just the streaming channels churning out this goddamn content. So, basically, Dawn ends up getting, like some help from one of her siblings who's invested in the honey pot, which again just sounds positively perverted. And she ends up getting on the show, but she falls for the guy despite wanting to get kicked off. Part of the reason is during a trip at a bar, she ends up meeting the guy, Trey, played by Pearson Fode, however the fuck you say it. I don't know. And they end up going to Paris. It's Paris, Texas, not Paris, France. Trust me, it's a joke that they absolutely will not drive into the fucking ground. And various other contestants aren't happy with it, but they are going to be cutthroat and get Trey to be the one. Also, there is a character named Lexi, played by Madison Pettis, which is a name that may not sound familiar to you unless you have seen The Game Plan. Yes, the little girl from The Game Plan is in this. I wonder why I recognized the name but just couldn't place it. And I was like, oh, I remember The Game Plan. What do you mean it's been 18 years since the fucking Game Plan came out? She seems to be having fun, kind of playing a bitchy Tennessee girl. And also you have the character of Rachel Yvonne Orji. Really trying to be careful here because it almost looks like it could be orgy. And she's like one of the heads of the show, really takes a liking to Dawn. And if I'm spoiling any of this stuff, I'm sorry. Do you really care if I'm spoiling the plot of a movie called The Wrong Paris, a rom-com on Netflix? There's also a character, Carl. I know that's not the actual name, but I'm just working me here. Torrance Combs, not Cora Combs. We are not going back to the territorial wrestling days with the women really having to work hard, despite the fact that Fabulous Moolah basically buried the goddamn industry after Mildred Burke, who was not featured well in Queen of the Ring. Check out my review of that. Boy, that's a deep goddamn cut. Let's move on. And essentially, Dawn has to lie her way onto this goddamn show. And in trying to get herself kicked off the show, she ends up falling for Trey and vice versa. I will say that Kristen Park is probably the only other character that I liked in this. Jasmine. I mean, other actors are okay, but they're just doing bits. At least it seems like Miss Park was having fun. She was actually kind of delightful. I would have maybe liked a little more of her character because she seemed to be, at least somebody like, they were like, okay, she understands the assignment and the character's a little more fleshed out. So yeah, that's pretty much it right there for the non-spoiler premise. It is just another Netflix rom-com. It is not any good. It is, again, inoffensive, but it is something that will leave your goddamn memory well before the end credits roll. It just, what do you want me to say? It's on Netflix if you want to check it out. So I'm just going to get into spoilers. 3, 2, 1, spoilers. There you go. So we open up with, these boots are made for walking, but in French. Les boots are made for walking. I don't know what the actual words are. I didn't bother to study. Really, the only French that I ever learned was from Portrait of a Lady on Fire and Blue is the Warmest Color. I will let you decide what French I learned from those particular movies, especially the latter. So, boom, instant, she is in school. She's welding in her barn. She's got accepted to school. It's $30K for a year because she didn't get accepted for financial aid. I mean, she's in school, but she needs it for housing. She used some of her fun where she's been saving up working at a diner. She's really a grassroots type of girl, despite the fact it doesn't look like there's any grass within 60 miles of this city. And she used some of it to help out her grandmother, Bertie. And there you go. There's a guy that she used to date. I don't remember his name. Could be Cletus, for all I know. And go on the honeypot dating show, the sibling says. It'll be fun, they said. Grandma Bertie was basically not happy that some of the fund was used and said, that's something we could have decided. Well, I guess your insurance didn't cover it because we live in such a great country that most of our citizens can't actually afford medical care because of greed. And I mean corporate greed. That being said, the finals essentially boil down to, will somebody take the honey or will they take the pot? Do you get it? Do you get it? Am I spelling it out enough for you? This movie sure does. So she essentially lies her way on the show, has cliff notes on her hand, but Rachel likes her and wants her on the goddamn show. This is terrible, just terrible. Oh, look, all the women are on the goddamn thing, the plane, and they are going to have their shocked reactions when they find out it's Paris, Texas, because it's the wrong Paris. Apparently there really is a Paris, Texas, and according to a few of my friends that live in Texas, it is a very bigoted place. So congratulations, you fucking bigots. Not everybody there, but I assume the 5 people that have internet in Paris, Texas will be very offended by that. They have their own Eiffel Tower recreation, which, given the fact that they are bigoted, no doubt has something to do with the fact that they probably Eiffel Tower their siblings. If you know what Eiffel Towering means, you know it's equally gross. Actually, it's worse. So her country upbringing actually will serve her well here. And instead of a rose, and I know enough about The Bachelor from just stupid clips and memes that it's a rose that they get. Will you accept this rose? If I could friggin' eat it, and if it's a poison rose, I never have to watch it again. Or will you accept this spur? By the way, the Spurs actually acting in this would have been better. Get Wemby on this goddamn thing. You're telling me that Wemby on this wouldn't have been gut-bustingly hilarious? There is one person watching this that will appreciate that, and everybody else will have no clue what I'm talking about. So they fall for each other the more she tries to get off the goddamn show. And because, by the way they met was at a bar where she basically busted a guy's arm and poured a beer on him and everything and stuff like that. Trey has been looking for his sweetheart, kind of like Cinderella. Oh, conveniently, there is somebody that is convinced she is Cinderella named Cindy. Do you get it? Who wrote this? I just want to talk by yelling at you repeatedly. Oh, wait, the director also wrote this because apparently she is incapable of creativity. Or Netflix just says, make the most bland shit, we'll pay you $2 million. I did note that Kristen actually just seems genuinely kind of sweet, and I'd like to see her in more movies. Um, so basically, we get competitions. Jasmine's just happy to be there. She works in a lab. She's happy to interact with people. She seemingly strikes up a friendship with Dawn. And I did note Lexi's character, Madison Pettis, seems to be like about 6'5", and I mean, I actually think she's only maybe 5'10", but still, I'm like, good lord, there's a bull riding competition for some reason, because country. And then while Lexi is playing it up for the cameras to get a massage in a hot tub, that's not a euphemism, that's actually what happens. Dawn falls in the pool because she's really starting to fall for Trey and all this stuff and everything. And then we get a hatchet throwing competition where one girl knocks herself out. I would just loved it if the hatchet actually did this. It just would have been a lot funnier. And there's one line, you ever feel so pulled by something you do anything to get it? Yeah, literally get away from films like this. I seemingly can't because people enjoy watching the reviews. For whatever reason. So there's a doubles competition, shall we say, where you get to a certain point, then you're on your own. You have to go through a tire, the tire challenge and everything. Get the tire, jump it through the tires like hopscotch. It's a retread of a different competition. Go through a hay maze that would be easy to get through, by the way, because it's like 2 feet. And then you get to something where you're supposed to get a bunch of like vegetable stuff and slop and feed it to pigs. The pigs just seemed happy to be there. And then essentially, there's like basically Lexi and Dawn get to where they fall in this slop and Cindy loses her crown. You should see her in a crown. And then she's freaking out, not wanting to be around anymore and all that. I don't know. And then trying to use the megaphone, Carl angers the horses by turning on an alarm. So this leads to basically Dawn and Trey wrangling the horses. And then Cindy keeps being stupid and bad at everything. And Lexi has her eye on Dawn because basically the idea is Dawn wanted to get the cash prize, even if it was just, like the money she would get from just being on the show, and use it to fund her next year of college. Because I guess it's 30K a year, so the 30K, and I think it's a 20K prize. Even if you get eliminated, she can come up with the other 10K. It's fine, just get extra tips. Or shave money off of the goddamn diner that seemingly is always busy. With Cletus and various other people. But they end up basically going on a date. Dawn and Trey, not Dawn and Lexi. That would have put this thing in a totally different tone. I wouldn't have been opposed to the tone, but it would have been weird. So they go to Dawn's house, and they end up, basically, he ends up seeing her life, realizes that she's actually worth it. She realizes he's worth it. And then there's Carl, who's all upset. Lexi tells on Dawn because she sees the acceptance letter and puts 2 and 2 together. Which is hard for some people in Tennessee to do. Har har, I kid. There are smart people in Tennessee. And then, essentially, Dawn is kicked off the show. But mind you, this is a Netflix/Hallmark type production, so we just have a few minutes left to wrap up everything nicely. She decides to go to Paris, and Meet Me in Paris is a song that plays. And then Rachel shows up and says, come to the competition, this kind of stuff. If you forfeit your winnings, you can get back on the show. I don't know if that's how that works, but whatever. And go and plead your case and stuff like that. Maybe it wasn't the wrong Paris after all. Oh, that's why it's called the wrong Paris, because we're stupid and we don't have any intelligent writers behind this thing or any intelligent minds behind this thing. I'm fine. It's inoffensive, but it's annoying me. So she apologizes to him, this kind of stuff. And by the way, it's down to Jasmine and Lexi. Jasmine has somehow managed to push her way through. And Jasmine is a delightful character once again. And Lexi is a great bitch. And they're both dressed to the nines in gowns. And it's all great, but then Don pours her heart out and decides, he says, I would have done this for you and everything, and wanted to take you to Paris and you would have just stayed. No, we could have worked it out and all this stuff and everything. It's so generic. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it so much. I hate it. Why? So what were you going to do? I was going to stay. Oh, you mean stay? Wow, nobody gets that. Only MST3K fans get that. So then Dawn leaves, and Trey, she was really crying, and then Jasmine locks the doors and lets Trey go to get Dawn, and yeah, they get together. And he basically proposes, they get the cameras, and he says, we can't split the winnings, but she takes him, but then they also get the money. Because fuck it. Because we need to wrap this shit up. And then we get outtakes. I'm actually surprised because I thought this entire movie was a series of outtakes because it sure didn't seem like a real story or a movie or whatever. Look, again, inoffensive, but God, this is stupid. I hate this. I hate this so much. Despite the fact that Kristen Park and... Look, Miranda Cosgrove seems likable enough. And Yvonne was fine. There were likable people playing just very bland characters. It gets an F. It is not good. Not good at all. Yeah, I'm the wrong audience for this kind of stuff, but I've liked some rom-coms in the past, and Jesus. I still put this just above The Map That Leads to You because I think this at least tried a little. That being said, F. Agree, disagree with what I said, like, share, subscribe. Twitter, Letterboxd, Blue Sky handles in the description. If you can tell, I am just out of energy because I'm John Ritland. Until we meet in the wrong Paris again, happy trails to you.